Welcome back, Trekkie friends, to the good, the bad, and the batshit for Star Trek Lower Decks Season 4, Episode 5, Empathological Fallacies. Empathological Fallacies. Anyway, yes, I'm one of your hosts, Stu.
I'm your other host, Alastair. It's a tongue twister, isn't it, Stu? Try saying that
I
three
wasn't
times fast.
expecting
Yeah.
it to be, but yes, it is. Empathological fallacies. I feel like it's referencing something like a book. Is it empirical fallacies or something like that?
Right, yes. It definitely is a play on words, whether there's a specific book, I'm not sure. Maybe one of our viewers can tell us in the comments if there's a specific title that's being riffed on here. Let us know in the comments. This was a really fun watch again, as this entire season has been for Lower Decks. It's always a good palate cleanser for us to talk about these following very short tracks. But first, is there an alert of some sort you would like to tell us about, Stu?
There is, and I'm really glad you mentioned this because we do need to go to red alert, as we always do, because we will be discussing potential spoilers for Season 4, Episode 5, Empathological Fallacies, Lower Deck. So if you haven't watched that episode yet and you don't want spoilers, then pause the video, go and watch it, come back, restart it again, and let us know if you agree with our assessments or not. If you're not bothered about spoilers, keep watching anyway. There we go. Now we've got the paperwork out the way. Everybody knows where the fire exits are, all the usual boring stuff. I used to give inductions to people in the automotive industry when they started working, and God, that was boring. I've heard a mixed opinion about this episode. Nothing bad, but some people, I think, found it a little bit to quote one of my friends in particular. He found it a bit meh.
How interesting. I did not
It just
find it
didn't
meh.
grab him.
I do
I
have my
just
problems
screwed
with
him.
this
You're very
episode,
wrong, Craig.
but I did like a lot about this one. So, but this is no surprise because the very first thing on my good list is this is a Tallinn episode. And if one thing's become apparent over the reviews we've done so far for this season is that I'm a very big fan of Tallinn. So immediately I was, she even got the captain's log, not the captain's log, but she got the log, which was very fun to see at the start of this. So did you enjoy this one, broadly speaking? Did you fall into the meh camp? Did you enjoy it, but with caveats? What was the general opinion from you, Stu?
No, definitely enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. One interesting point about this episode, it's the second episode this season where we've had the cold open, like basically straight to the theme tune and the titles without a kind of a starting point. Normally, in the previous 3 episodes, there's just been one episode per season that's done that. This was the second to do that.
Good
Don't
catch.
know
I hadn't
why.
noticed that.
Um,
Yeah.
that's just one of those things. I suppose. And also though, in the title sequence, I haven't. Oh, I was going to do this before this recording, and I didn't do it. I was going to look back at the previous ones because I noticed there is in this episode as well. There's a Klingon bird of prey and a Breen warship in the title sequence. I don't remember spotting those in the previous ones this season.
Interesting. You have more eagle eyes than me. I didn't notice the suddenness of their appearance. So you'll have to let us know next week whether they are new additions or not, because I'm not sure.
Yeah. It's only for a brief moment, the two of them sort of fly into the screen, shoot at each other and fly off, in that big battle sequence at the end.
Yeah.
I think the whale probe's kind of taken a lot of attention. But
Yes.
yeah, it was just for a brief moment. They fly in and shoot at each other and fly off again, and I hadn't noticed it. So yeah, I wonder if that's new or I'm just not as observant as I think I am. Let's talk about what's good about this episode then. So much, obviously, but what's top of your list for that?
So yeah, it's a T'Lyn episode. It was really awesome to see T'Lyn finally sort of move from supporting character through to what feels very much like it's a T'Lyn centric episode. I think she just works so well with our four main heroes, and is a really nice counterpoint to them. And the one-liners are there as usual. The deadpan delivery that I've discussed enjoying is there as usual. But what's really nice is that we get the emotional journey for her as well, from feeling like she wants to leave the chaos of the Cerritos at the start through to deciding to remain on board and not file her request for a transfer at the end. And I think I was saying last week, was it, that I always love it when Lower Decks punches those emotional buttons and leaves us hanging for a second with a character's sadness or something a bit difficult. And the end of the scene between her and Mariner, where she realizes that she is perfectly Vulcan enough, is a really nice little moment for her character, and just more proof that Lower Decks can do the pivot from comedy to drama really nicely when it chooses to. So big thumbs up from me from that. I much more small note in the show, but I did really love the gag about the Romulans lurking in the neutral zone, just waiting for Starfleet ships to cross the line. So I thought that was great too. Yeah. There's what the commander says afterwards, where he's like, "Oh, did you think they were really going to cross or something?" And you just very good. What about you,
Stu?
What was in
section 85?
Yeah. What was in your good list for this one?
So, top of my list was the fact that this episode felt like a proper mystery to be solved. Like, there was clearly something going on. Wasn't quite, you knew it wasn't quite as meets the eye. So kind of getting the old, like, the grey cells sparked up and trying to figure out what was going on. And of course, you've got the big twist that it is in fact T'Lyn. And on second watching of it, you can see it and it's there and it's obvious, because the people react after T'Lyn arrives.
It's the Geordie's visor effect.
Yeah, and even Mariner has a line about why has everyone suddenly gone gone crazy. So it's really clever, really well thought out. Yeah, a proper, not murder mystery, obviously, but a mystery to be solved. One that got the old cogitations going. I've got T'Lyn's character development as a very big honourable mention, though. So I'm not surprised that was your top one. And the B story arc, and it was a proper arc this week, because that was my bad point last time, was the B story just didn't really go anywhere, I felt. But this time it was a proper arc. So yeah, really, really liked that. Did you have a favourite line? While we're talking about good stuff,
it's a very obvious one this week. It's the
I bet we've got the same one.
Am I to understand that you mock your friends more than your enemies, from T'Lyn in the ending scene in the bar?
Oh, we've got different ones.
Oh, what was your one, Stu?
I mean, that's a great line. Mine is also a T'Lyn line. And she says, "So by the transitive property, I must be Vulcan as a motherfucker."
A great choice and a very close runner-up for me as well. Yeah.
I thought that was absolutely and kind of like perfect to Lynn as we're getting to know her, that she's just not phased by any of the craziness. I mean, clearly she's commenting on the craziness on the ship, but she's seems to be
She
not
rides the
embracing
wave.
it, but fitting in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, what about what could be better? And just a reminder to our viewers: when we say bad, we don't necessarily mean it's bad. Just it could be better, perhaps.
And
Unless it's
particularly
very short
with,
track.
yeah, I was going to say, particularly with this season of Lower Decks, we frequently acknowledge that we're really digging deep to try and find anything to even
Yes.
say it could be better with. So, however, I think this episode is interesting to hear that you know people who were very so on it. I don't think it's deserving of that assessment. I can absolutely see that if you're not that fussed about Tallinn, it probably nudges it significantly that way. I do wonder if there was a little bit of bumpiness in that they have not done a Tallinn centric episode yet, and trying to figure out what that looks like and how they're going to move all the pieces around for it and tell that story. Whether that it didn't help with some of the particularly the non-central the things that were on the periphery of that Tallinn story. I totally agree with you that the B plot was an arc, at least this week, but
Hmm.
I wasn't too. It was okay, Boimler's time with security and the fact that he was just being chilled out because he mentioned to Rutherford he was sort of Rutherford had observed that he was stressed out. And same with the Betazoid intelligence unit, the fact that they were being transferred by the Cerritos, but the Cerritos didn't know they were an intelligence unit until they revealed it. But then when they did reveal it, they were like, oh, here's some intelligence about that probe that's been blowing up things on the show. So would they have never found that out if nothing had happened on the journey? Or would they have just revealed it to them anyway at some point? In which case, why not say at least to the captain, we're a Betazoid intelligence team and we'll brief you on the journey home? It's maybe overthinking it a bit, but it did just feel like with the B story with the Betazoid team that it was a little bit it didn't all fit together as neatly as it could to support the Tallinn story, I thought. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's a really interesting take. That didn't worry me so much because I'm thinking like if it was Section 31, well they'd it's a need to know basis. If you don't need to know, I'm not going to tell you, sort of thing. So no, they clearly wouldn't have told them, given them the footage that they had if it hadn't have come out. Um, yeah, I can see where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from. Um, Interestingly, the Betazoids were kind of top of my bad element, but for a completely different reason. I thought the stereotyping of Betazoid middle-aged women was a bit could have been better. It's like, let's make them all like Loxana. Why?
And not even fairly thoughtlessly so as well. There was no, because Loxana is quite an interesting character by the time you get into her appearances on Deep Space Nine, particularly, and
Mm.
and so I think I totally agree with what you're saying, but I would damn it even further and say that there's potential to do something interesting there, and it's squandered. There is no nuance to using that stereotype, and yeah, I see where you're coming from, Stu.
Yeah. And it kind of almost jarred me a little bit The actress who did the voice for I'll say the horny one, you know which one I mean, is the same voice actress that plays BoJack Horseman's mother in BoJack Horseman.
Now I know you're a big BoJack Horseman fan, Stu. So is this particularly grieving to you? Is she great in that and just wasted here?
No, I mean no, I mean she was great in both, but she's got such a distinctive voice. It's like that's not who you are.
Yeah.
It's like typecasting, I suppose, which I should be dead against. But you know, if anybody wants to typecast me, by the way, and pay me a lot of money, I'm open to that. So yeah, it was like, oh, I wasn't expecting to hear yes, but there we go. But that was my bad. But let's look at the batshit side then. What was outstanding to you?
I I really loved Dr. Miglimo, right? Sorry, just raging at the replicator, and the fact that they come back to it later is it's a very isolated little gag in the episode, but it's just so good. It's one of those things where I feel like we haven't seen people be very angry at replicators enough in Star Trek, and that it's something that, were that a real universe that we lived in, we would all really hate when replicators malfunction. So seeing our avian counselor lose it with one was a great batshit moment. What about you,
that's
Stu?
very regurgitated. This
Yeah.
doesn't taste like it's been in my mother's mouth. I mean, So for me, it comes from the B story. The concept, and I adore this. I think this is brilliant. But totally left field is the idea that security looks after the emotional well-being of the crew because it's protecting them from themselves. Love that. Absolutely love it. And yeah, just totally would never have dreamed.
It makes a lot of sense for Star Trek, though, doesn't it? You can imagine Troy and Worf sitting on the Enterprise D, sitting in some Enterprise D conference room somewhere doing the weekly, security counseling joint review of ship well-being or whatever. I thought it, as zany as it seemed at first brush in Lower Decks, it's actually not as out there as it first appears.
And it so fits Shax, what we know of him. Really fits him very, very well. I did have a massive honourable mention as well. This came very close to my top batshit side. Because we have to bear in mind that Lower Decks is officially canon. Unlike very short treks where they've stated it is definitely not canon, Lower Decks is canon, unless you don't want it to be. It doesn't have to be for the individual, but that's all very complicated. But it is canon. And they have now stated that historically, Katians pursued and ate betazoids.
Yes.
I love it.
That probably should be the batshit point for this episode. I mean, there's just so many questions, right? There's so many questions upon hearing that and knowing that it's canon. I'm sure some show, down the line will fill in some of the blanks there, but it almost reminds me of the Trials and Tribulations bit with the Klingon war against the Tribbles, just the kind of zany insertion into canon of something that we would never have suspected. So thumbs up, good batshit moment.
It definitely feels like Mike McMahon in this series in particular. He's had the first three series of like establishing in canon by making lots of references to canonic stuff, but now he's creating canon in this series, and that it feels absolutely wonderful because he's got that respect, he's got that, paying dues for it, but yeah, going forward, it's absolutely I love it.
I did really enjoy, I think it was all the way back in season one, where we got the amazing bit of canon that at some point in the future, at least one society perceives Miles O'Brien as the most important man in Federation history, was it? With his statue. I thought that was a great early exercising of creative power by the Lower Decks team. Gave me a laugh.
And here he is in his statue with the great bird of the galaxy, which was, of course, Roddenberry. There we go. Yeah, fantastic. Big thumbs up from me for this episode.
Yeah, big thumbs up for me as well. Great to see T'Lyn get the spotlight. Look forward to hopefully getting another T'Lyn episode next season, if not before. And hopefully just a little bit smoother around the edges. I think that was kind of our grumble in various different ways for both of us, but the kind of the surrounding parts could have moved a bit more smoothly with the T'Lyn story. But big thumbs up from me as well. Love to see T'Lyn. Very fun to get more one-liners and great deadpan delivery this week. So look forward to seeing what's in store for Lower Decks next week.
Absolutely. And we'll be right here reviewing it along with other bits and pieces. So make sure you hit that notification bell and subscribe and like, or not all in that order, but whatever. And make sure you leave comments below letting us know what you think about this episode as well. Be careful of spoilers there. Excuse me. Join us next time, assuming I make it that far. It's not the cough that carried him off, but the coffin that carried him off in. Anyway, on that dour note.
This is going to be particularly ironic, Stu. I'll let you go for it.
Particularly ironic. Peace and long life.
Live long and prosper.